Welcome, everyone, to our second in the series of the Yellow Brick Road to Manufacturing Oz. In this second segment, we're going to really talk about what we believe is the heart of an organization or a business, your people. If you remember, we kind of lined this up with the Tin Man. And there's a bit of the story behind the Tin Man, but what it really boils down to is he was a human who became a machine. And as a part of that, he lost his heart. And so he really wanted to get his heart back so he could love someone from his past life. If you think about that in terms of manufacturing companies, distribution companies, and businesses, the heart of your organization is really your people and your leaders. They're the ones who create the culture, the ethos of your business, the vibe of your business, the aura of your business, whatever you want to call it. That is what drives the culture of a business, right? So the key is how to get the right people back to work in the right places coming out of this situation that we're dealing with right now. And as a part of that, if you go back and think about Drucker, he coined a phrase many, many years ago that culture eats strategy for lunch every day. Building upon that theme, right, we believe that culture is what powers the performance of a business. When you get that culture right, what you see is more involvement, better performance of a business, better morale within that organization. We've had several clients who have gone back and looked at this impact of culture on performance over time. And in one of our client companies, what they found is that the more people got involved in the business, the better they felt about the company, the better they felt about their management, their leadership, their peers, and the better actually that the company performed. So the more involved their people became in the business, the better the business executed.
Ken, that's a great point on the positive side effects of really empowering your culture and letting that drive your performance. Shannon, do you mind adding some color on the negative side of that?
Sure. And, in contrast, we had a large national company that did not follow this culture, and they hadn't for years. There was a severe impact on the performance inside the organization because of it. And despite all the growth and the demand, the economy supporting the growth of their business, their culture was disrupted. And similar to what Ken said, they were eating plant managers for lunch. Their turnover was beyond their capability of control. They were unsure what was causing the turnover, and as we did our root cause analysis on it, determined that it was a failed hiring process. They hired what they wanted and not what they needed. They continued to hire the same robots despite the same outcome every single time. It didn't fit their culture, and what we did was go through and help them evaluate, to hire those individuals that are going to fit into the culture. And with that blend and that alignment, it started to ease them into stronger performance overall. And the production levels showed it. The performance showed it. So some of the things that, when you look at the internal and external drivers and what's influencing those mindsets, there's a lack of instability within the organization, and it creates panic across the team. What you need to do is investigate and understand where those fears lie, what's driving those fears, how relevant are they. If your hiring process and current team doesn't showcase diversity and inclusion, you're going to struggle to compete in the current market. We've seen that for a number of years. It's not going to change with the current conditions today. Those that are not furloughed are making less now than the colleagues that are furloughed, and people are cranky about it. They can't understand how someone that's furloughed at home is making more than they are when they're out there working. So there's definitely some challenges within that structure.
Yeah, let's just kind of build on that a little bit. I think those are great perspectives, Shannon. I think if we step back and look, we've all read about when things shut down, the hiring that people such as Amazon and Walmart and these e-commerce organizations who really had their businesses pick up during the shutdown. A lot of people went to work there. They hired a lot of people. They're keeping those people on board, right? Or even if you think about it, people were going to work at the grocery store. The people that needed to work to provide for their families found a job somewhere else. They had to keep working. So we're dealing with a lot of different dynamics as Shannon said. And even one of those is just the mere fact of people went and found work somewhere else during the shutdown. Or you have, as Shannon also explained, the scenario where people are making, because of the additional benefits that were provided, more money by staying on unemployment than they are actually going back to work. And we've read stories about that. Obviously, these situations are going to change over time, but quite frankly, these are the issues that we as business leaders are having to deal with and juggle right now. How about a little bit on the leadership side?
Well, I think you have to, you really have to change the mindset of your people. You need to focus on the mindset of the leaders as well, though. Just because they've been great performers in the past doesn't mean that you can ignore it and assume that they're going to continue along that same cadence. There's going to have to be a level of resilience and adaptability that they have and that they can install further, trickle down within their teams. What happened on Monday won't happen on Tuesday. Everyone has a different level of sensitivity right now. There's a lot going on in the world, and we have to be sensitive to how that's impacting them and their performance and their mindset. We've got to communicate in a style that resonates with all employees. And so, and I'd say the bottom line is right now that if you aren't articulating compassion, your employees are going to walk. That's the risk that you have at this point. So what you need to do, and I think this is the go-to plan really, is communication needs to be more frequent. It's got to be fluid. It needs to be heightened to a higher level than it ever has been before. You need to establish a greater accountability structure internally, and you need to establish standard work. When there's a state of flux, they'll revert back to it. They'll go back to that as the base structure that they know and can depend on. They have faith in it, and they can rely on it. The infamous, quote being, "Without leader standard work, there's a state of flux, and with flux comes uncertainty and fear."
So great comments, Shannon. I think we've been very fortunate in the past to have a gentleman who was a part of an Army Ranger, was part of Black Hawk Down. And one of the comments that he made that really stuck with me, and I think goes to this whole idea of standard work, disciplined execution, accountability processes. If you think about what the Rangers in any of our armed services, what they tend to do is they train as you fight, fight as you train, right? And really what that boils down to is training is about repetition. It's about building an ingrained way to act, right? And how to execute. And they repeat it over and over and over until it becomes a second nature to them. If you look at what we're dealing with right now and the changes that are going to have to be made in leadership styles, in the way we communicate, as Shannon has explained, we've got to get into this disciplined execution of how we manage daily. We've got to make sure that people understand what it is we're trying to get accomplished. What are our goals? How do we need to deal with situations more dynamic and quickly as things are changing within the organization? What are our responses to some of the political things that are going on out in the world around us, right? And all of this is going to come back to what is the message? How are we acting? How are we communicating? And what are we doing every single day and every single point of contact with the people in our organization? That is how we're going to be successful and get through all of this.
Yeah, great point, Ken.
Shannon, why don't you talk about kind of where you think our perspectives are on where people's teams are at?
Well, I mean, similar to what you find in sports, you always play a lot of teams play to their competition, right? So experience shows that when the game ramps up, you're going to find some players that rise to the top, while others are going to wallow in the mediocrity of it. And you've got to help them figure out. You've got to assess yourself on who's going to rise and who's going to wallow. You got to assess the team, which means the leadership and the people that make up that team. As we always say at TBM, we got to figure out who's who in the new zoo. So identify those opportunities and make plans to capture upon those. You've got to there's a new way of training and developing. You're going to do more of that. You're going to look for those individuals that maybe weren't ready for the next step a while back, but now you feel like they are. We've got to force that next leader to rise up and above, and we're going to give them all the tools that they need in order to get there. Your training and development is going to be individually and team-based. It's going to be technical and it's going to be tactical. So you've got to cover an entire gamut as you go through this, go through the next phases of where we're at. And part of doing that is if, when you go to doing those type of assessments, and what we do at TBM is look at the six key elements to assess the leadership and the teams within. We look at the organization as a whole. We don't just look at the shop floor. There's a lot of factors that carry into performance on the shop. We look at technical capability of leaders. Are they coached? Are they change ready? We look at the leadership risks. Who are we in jeopardy of losing? Is it a critical role? Is it a critical player? We look at the leadership capabilities with proper training and development. Are they capable of doing more? We've got to evaluate succession planning. How has that changed today versus what it looked like a month ago? We look at the talent management process. Are you hiring and onboarding and retention efforts effective and successful? What was effective last year may not be effective this year. You've got to evolve with that process. And then we look at the culture. All of these tie into the overall culture. You need to utilize the tools available to ensure you are better than the competition. And Ken, that may be a good one for you to comment on, on playing into the competition. And if we have clients that maybe we've helped navigate that way.
Well, I think there's a couple of things around this, Shannon, that I think are important. And I mean, obviously, one is you want to make sure that what you're doing and looking for and where you can find good people, as you always said, the people who are out there available are not probably the best people for your organization, right? And they're the ones who you probably don't want because they don't have an employment status right now in many cases. Look at ways to go and find people, right? The better way to find talent, always be on the lookout for good talent. That good talent can come from your competition. It comes from other organizations where they have the culture and the leadership styles that you want to replicate within your business, as an example. And so I think, it's looking at all of these 6 elements, not individually, but as a whole. We can share with you an example where with one of our clients, we went and looked at and started to understand some things that were going on. And through the information, we were able to find that a few of the key players in this organization that was about to undertake a very significant improvement program with millions of dollars on the line of benefits had their resumes out on the street. As we dug into it deeper, we found that the timing of when their resumes actually were placed onto the street was actually linked to the time that they all got a new boss, right? So as time went on, you could also see how more frequent they started to update their information and get it out there. And it all boiled down to a person's communication style and his leadership style. Now, why that was important is, number one, we had to also think about how do we deal with that leader. Number two is we also had to think about, well, what are our backup plans? Should these key individuals actually be successful and leave the organization, which would have a huge impact on our ability to deliver, not just ours, but the company's ability to deliver on their commitment to their board of directors. So I think looking at all of this as a whole is what's important. The challenge is, in a lot of organizations, people want to pick off bits and pieces of this and not combine the whole story together. And what we are trying to do with this leadership assessment and our leadership solutions capabilities is really blend our 30 plus years of knowledge as a firm and the thousands of years of experience of our team members. We have a pretty good idea of what a good operational leader looks like, right? What technical capabilities do they need to have? What leadership capabilities do they have? What do they need to do to manage the culture effectively? And so what we're trying to do is really blend the best of both worlds and develop sound, excellent operational leaders. All right. So let's kind of wrap this up with a couple of thoughts and comments. I think, first of all, as we all know, there's a lot of new challenges for our businesses. The COVID thing has really turned things upside down in many cases. It's created new requirements for us, what we need to do from a health and safety inspection perspective, from a sanitation perspective, et cetera. It's been very difficult, quite frankly, for a lot of people. I know I've even personally, just this whole thing of doing Teams meetings and other things, it's a big change. It's not easy because we were so used to doing all this stuff face to face. And so this is going to change how we interact. And coming out of this, we're seeing different ways of communication. We're seeing leaders are having to play new roles and change how they support their people, right? And we're also going to have to make sure we give access to these people for the right kinds of training and mentoring they need to be successful. So what we're trying to get across here is that you cannot forget what is the core of your business, what is the heart of your business, your people and your leaders. Stay focused on them, give them what they need to be successful to ensure that they will help you as business leaders keep your business successful. So Shannon, I don't know if you'd like to add any final comments.
I think you covered it great, Ken. I think you covered it great. I think that sometimes it's easy for us to get caught up in the technical and tactical portion of what we do and what our clients do, but at the end of the day, it's the people and the teams within it that really are going to drive the results. So well said.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us here at the second series. We look forward to seeing you on the third series coming up in the not too distant future.
Okay.